Hey there, I am back with another Free the Pip Friday where we open up some of the rarest decks out there. And for this one, we get a look at the 24 karat gold gilded edition of Pagan from Uusi playing cards. In the ancient pagan religions of Latvia and Lithuania, there's a story of three sisters who ruled as a trinity of fate deities, similar to the Greek Moirai. One of the sisters in particular, Lima, was considered principal among the three and was the one who made the final decisions on an individual's fate. Through the years, she was worshipped amongst pagans as a goddess of luck with dominion over mothers and childbirth. In fact, during pregnancy, many birth rituals included leaving offerings to her in the form of animals or woven cloths laid under a linden tree. Later versions of the ceremony evolved to include a ritualized massage and a sauna using a whisk made from the branches of the linden tree. It was said to have healing and medicinal properties. And in fact, the whisk of Lima has become one of the goddess's more enduring symbols. That's one of hundreds or even thousands of pagan myths and legends that have been told throughout the centuries, and it's those tales that inspired the creation of the Pagan deck from Uusi. The original Pagan design was created as part of a 6-deck series from creators Peter Dunham and Linnea Gitz, designed to explore different art techniques through playing cards. And for that deck, the pair drew on their genuine love of the forests and lakes in their home in the northern US, creating the original oil painting artwork that was used in the deck. And since then, the deck has been an absolute hit, arguably the series that Uusi's most well known for now, and has been remade several times throughout the years, including as a tarot deck. And the deck you see here is the most recent incarnation, but it's not just any deck. This is a special one. So with every single design that Uusi puts out, they also put out a super limited 24 karat gold gilded edition. And these versions are individually hand gilded in Uusi's studios in a 400-year-old process. It's an amazingly painstaking endeavor, and knowing the craftsmanship involved, the chase for one of these beauties has long been one of my white whale aspirations. And at last, I got a hold of one. So I get to show it off as the latest Free the Pip Friday deck on the channel. So let's get right into it. All right, so we've seen Pagan before on the channel, but I'll get a chance to kind of walk through it because it really is a special deck on its own. But you can tell right off that this is the Gilded edition because of the band included around the middle here. It's just a paper band, but it is done on a nice gold metallic paper, sealed with a very simple black circular seal here that's hand numbered out of the 25 deck edition. So this is number 3 out of 25. Very few of these get made, just really kind of makes it something special. But there's the band, nothing too special with that. And then the deck inside, this is going to be the same tuck box if you got the Pagan deck for yourself. It's a beautiful tuck box featuring a floral pattern in the background with the purples and the little hits of blue and red. Beautiful patterning to it, almost kind of a wallpaper look to it. And then the gold panel in here features that whisk of Lamia that I talked about at the beginning. That whisk here, that single branch up the middle, is one of her classic symbols. In particular on this one, I love the gold foils that are used on these. They're not super shiny or reflective, and they have this sort of weathered look to them, almost like they're brushed on or stamped on. Gives it a really unique texture and just an overall luxury feel to the deck, because it really just has some very subtle embossing, but that texturing that you get from the foil, really fantastic. And that pattern, complete with little accents of the gold foil, continues all the way around the tuck box. And then you can see on the back, it has that black sticker matching the one on the band on the outside. So the same numbering on this one. Bottom here has some ad copy for Uusi. Also mentions these are printed by the Expert Playing Card Company. And then finished out with this tuck seal here, so you can see the Uusi panel in the background, and then the red tuck seal on the front. It's numbered with the 4 here, which indicates this is the 4th deck in that 6-deck series I was talking about. And then you can see a little classic character here, just one of the many pagan characters that you'll see featured throughout this deck. This was actually the Joker on one of the previous versions of the deck. But beautifully done overall. Now, usually I have no problem cutting the seals, but on this particular one, I chose to keep the seal intact, so I was able to open this one up from the bottom because it's not glued on the bottom. But you can see the red interior on this one, just a great match with the purples of the tuck box. Just gives it a very luxury feel to it overall and allows you to get at the cards. But beautiful tuck box. Like I said, if you've seen the other Pagan decks, very familiar territory with this one, with the exception of that numbered seal on it. But beautiful look to that. But let's take a look at the cards. And of course, we've got to start off looking at that gilding. So I mentioned these are completely hand gilded, and it's a beautiful finish that's achieved on these. It's I guess I would call it slightly matte finish. It's not super reflective, but all of this is done, like I said, with a hand done process. They call it a process that dates back 400 years. And it's every single deck done by hand in their studios. So they apply this 24 karat gold leaf foil to the outside, brushing it on painstakingly to get the finish that you see here. And the results are fantastic. Love that it's not a completely mirror finish. I think it just gives it a little bit of an extra, I don't know, opulence to it overall. Something feels more refined about it with that matte finish. And that gold is a great pairing with the back designs. It features that same floral pattern that we saw on the tuck box. Speaking of the back designs, so here's a closer look at those. Does feature some metallic inks in here. The accents of the lines in the middle, all done in gold metallic ink. Nice sort of refined look to it. And then the borderless design, absolutely classic. Beautifully done on this one. Great pairing with the gilding color on the sides for a fantastic finish overall. But let's take a look at the faces of the deck as well. Like I said, if you have the regular Pagan deck, the regular version of this deck, you're familiar with the faces of the cards. There's no changes on these. This is basically that same deck but gilded. But of course, we want to get a chance to go through these because it is a fantastic deck. And we'll start off with the two Jokers, and right away you can see probably why I love this deck so much. The artwork on this is phenomenal. It's done inspired by oil paintings, and so each one of these was a hand-done oil painting that was converted into the card that you see. And these feature a look at some of the different creatures or deities that were maybe worshipped throughout pagan times. And now, no particular deities are highlighted on this one, although I will say this one probably pretty heavily inspired by Death, the skeletal figure there wielding the scythe. And then you have this other one, kind of a demonic looking creature. That's a really intimidating looking one. But beautiful looks to these. You get the symbols in the corner to denote these as your two Jokers. Very, very nicely done. All right, now we get to the four aces. I mentioned that this one, that the Pagan series has also been made into a tarot deck, and you can see the nod to tarot that's used in the four aces on this one. So in tarot, and even in traditional playing cards, they didn't use the traditional spades, diamonds, clubs, and hearts, instead using suits that were swords, pentacles, clubs, and cups. And so each one of the suits kind of pays tribute to one of those original suits. So you can see here on the power ace, the ace of spades, you get the Pagan by Uusi there at the bottom, and then the hand holding the sword with that black spade pip in the background. Beautifully done artwork, and I love how it kind of brings together the old and the new, kind of paying tribute to the original suits. Beautiful look at the Pippin index, very clean, classic, almost modern looking font chosen for the index in the corner. The other three, so you get the pentacles featured on the diamond. This is probably the most ornate of them. You can just barely see the diamond peeking out, and then that beautiful pentacle design. These are sometimes shown as coins in other decks instead of pentacles. There's the club, or in this case, just a stick, basically what a club is. But there's the stick with the leaves still falling off of it. Love how the hand's just sort of extending out of the clouds here. It kind of gives the whole thing an ethereal vibe to it. And then the cups, complete with the flowing water, almost forming a fountain with the dove above as the heart. So more beautiful artwork, and just like everything else, these are all done with a hand painting as the original artwork. Then we get to the number cards, and these are, at first glance, relatively standard, but I love what's done on these. So Uusi uses this style of pip in a lot of their decks. Almost has like a watercolor finish to it. You can see slight gradients in color, little variations in the color from one pip to the next. Some of them looking a little bit more black and blue. Others even bringing in hints of reds and browns in them. So while it still has a classic, highly familiar look to them, each one of the pips just kind of has a bespoke feel to it, really giving kind of a unique vibe to them, the color gradations and the variations as you go from one card to the next. Really nicely done. Like I said, this is used on a bunch of others, like if you've seen Bohemia, for example, you'll see the same style of pips. Absolutely love it. Shows up even better on the red cards. You'll see bits of blacks and pinks, different color gradients again coming through on these. and giving you almost shape and depth to these otherwise flat pips. But really nice quality to the pips, even though they're standard and familiar layout. So if you wanted to use this for gameplay, or if you want to use the non-gilded version, I guess, for gameplay, these would be very, very usable. And there you go through the hearts. And then we get to the court cards. And just like the Jokers, these are beautifully illustrated, but not really in particular going after any particular pagan religion or deities or anything like that. Instead, just focusing to feature some of the, focusing on some of the different characters that you might find. Don't know whether these are worshipers who are following the religion or deities in themselves, but either way, they are beautifully illustrated. And again, each one of the suits pays tribute to one of the original suits. So the spades follow the swords suit, and so each one of the characters here holding a sword, and they are fantastically illustrated. You can see them going after, so in the spades here, going after kind of a darker theme with the animal pelts that are really heavily featured. Love the black bear draped over the shoulder there, the Jack of Spades, or not sure what animal that is. Almost looks like a lion mane there as the helmet or the hair of the Queen of Spades. And one of the most intimidating here is the King of Spades with the gigantic, menacing, growling bear as his headdress. The diamonds take a little bit of a lighter turn to them. This one, of course, the pentacles, so you can see each of them holding the large pentacle in their hands, and almost kind of a camouflage feel to these with the straw and the grass forming their clothes. Really beautiful. And the standout one here, the Queen of Diamonds with the, I guess that would be an antelope there as her headdress. Really nice. Also like this one, the ram's head. All right, and then into the clubs, or the clubs in the classic sense. So each one of them holding the stick or the club in their hands. Again, kind of a different feel. So each one of these kind of going to a different area of the world, trying to pull in inspirations from all different cultures as you go through the artwork. But every single one of them, the incorporation of plant life, the style of the artwork, the different poses, just absolutely beautifully done. Love how the sunflowers are worked in here as the Queen of Clubs. And then finally we get to the hearts. And these definitely take on a more of like a classical European vibe. You can imagine these as like Renaissance statues or something like that. The pure, kind of unblemished skin there, just beautifully sculpted, and each one in tribute to the cups suit, each one of them holding a cup or a goblet in their hands. I love the artwork on these court cards, can't get enough of them. And as you go through the different versions of Uusi throughout the years, you'll see different court cards in each one of them. But anyway, that is it. That is the look at the 24 karat gold gilded edition of Uusi Pagan. I gotta say, the gold gilded, that was a dream of mine, especially to get a Pagan gilded deck. It's been for a very long time. So super glad to get a hold of this one. I think it's beautifully done. But gotta say, even with that gold gilding, and this is a really special deck, those court cards are really where it's at. So if you can get a hold of even just a standard version of any of the old Pagan decks, can't recommend it highly enough. This is one of my favorite deck series in the world, has been for years. Just a phenomenal series. Peter, Linnea just knocked it out of the park with this one. So if you get a chance to check out any version of the Pagan series, gotta go pick yourself up one. And if you're lucky enough to get a hold of one of the gilded ones, so much the better. But anyway, hope you enjoyed this one, getting a chance to free the pip on something a little bit special today. I definitely enjoyed taking a look at it, and hope you did too. Anyway, make sure to subscribe for more deck reviews, more unboxings. Let me know what else you want to see, and maybe what else you want to see for the next Free the Pip Friday. That's it for now, and I'll see you for the next one.